Welcome to the Imperfect Dads podcast.
I'm Justin.
And I'm Devin.
We believe dads care deeply about their family and kids,
but they don't always have a space to discuss what their life looks like.
Our podcast is a space for dads to discuss the ups and downs of fatherhood.
And how they feel like they're holding it all together.
Or how they're not.
Thank you for joining us for this episode. On this episode, we have on Clay Garrett from Campfire Gentleman. We talked about his life as a graphic designer, how he started Campfire Gentleman, what he does to maintain male friendships, learning from his dad, and trying to not make life dramatic because it's hard enough as it is. And also just like one more thing.
Dad, just start the episode.
Oh, my bad. Anyway, Clay, how many kids do you have? Ages, all that good stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have two kids. I have a 12-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter.
Nice. Do you make them watch sports with you at all, or is your son into sports yet?
Oh, no. He is much more into like computer stuff.
Okay.
And so I'll play video games with him, but there's no, he would just outright say, I don't like sports. All his friends are into sports.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I don't care.
I mean, to be fair, I didn't care about sports until I was in college. So I would have been the same 12-year-old, my dad trying to be like, hey, let's watch Peyton play football. And I'd be like, what is this? So that's cool. Are you whenever you play video games with him, are you able to win in the video games, or has he surpassed you with his video game ability yet?
It depends on the game is really what it amounts to, but he's much more adept at games that require, the mouse and the keyboard. I still have to have a controller.
Yeah.
And all of that kind of stuff. And he just is a wizard with the keyboard and the mouse. And I'm like, I can't play games like that. If it doesn't, if I can't, if that doesn't also come on a PS4, I can't play it. Yeah.
I grew up playing a little bit of I did World of Warcraft whenever I was a teenager, and StarCraft and all those games. And I feel like the people who do PC gaming is a different breed of gamer. I'm over here on a PlayStation also enjoying it, having a good time. Then I see someone in a room with a computer playing video games, and I'm like, I feel like you're trying to do this as a career, you're trying to get noticed and sponsored. That's not what my vibe right now.
Definitely. Yeah.
What about your daughter? What's your daughter like, or what do you do for fun with her?
She also, she has no choice. She also plays video games because otherwise she couldn't play with her brother.
Oh, okay.
But she is also really into art. And so they have a room that is both an art room and a computer room.
Cool.
And about 1/16 of it is a computer room, and the rest of the walls are just covered in paint, and the floor is covered in clay and all sorts of different stuff. And so, yeah, my son gets really irritated when he has to clean the room. He's like, none of this is my mess.
Well, also, I don't know. I feel like to do real art, or not real art, to fully explore art, and that you get messy. It's not about being clean. It's not. It is, especially if one of your kids is using clay. It just gets everywhere. And I'm not that much of a neat freak type of person. I'm more the type of person of whenever I know I have to clean it up later, I'm like, hey, let's limit the scope of chaos here.
Right.
What type of person are you? Are you do you get anxious whenever you see a really messy room?
It's funny because used to, I was the one making the mess.
Okay, yeah.
I'm sure it's because I have kids now that I'm like, if there's cooking in the kitchen, I'm like, I got to clean this up later. Can we calm it down a little bit? But yeah, growing up, or actually even earlier in my career, I used to work at a sign shop.
Okay.
And one of the coworkers would complain, she'd be like, you're making such a mess. And I'd be like, it doesn't matter, but now I totally see where she was coming from.
Yep. I wasn't aware of messes too much until having kids, because it's I think part of curiosity is just exploration and making a big mess, and that should be a big part of childhood. So for so long your kids are so little that if you tell a 3-year-old clean this up, they kind of do, but it's still mostly you. So whenever they're like, hey, let's get out the Legos, let's get out the magnet tiles, you're like, no, just one, not all 3.
Yes.
And then I love negotiating with a 2 or a 3-year-old, because you're there and you're like, no, man, you don't need more toys. And they're like, more? And you're like, there's no way for me to win this, is there?
It's going to happen either way.
It's going to happen. So you can either be a part of it or be angry in the corner. Which one you want, man? Which one is it today? What do you do for a living, or what's your career?
I am a graphic designer, and I own a small boutique graphic design company called 1808 Creative.
Okay.
And before that, which it's like I say, it's just me. It's a solo
Yeah.
thing.
When you say we,
Right.
it's the non-arrogant way to say me,
Right.
referring to your business.
But before that, I worked in corporate marketing basically for 10 to 12 years. I worked in some large, office of a large hospital system and then a large multi state car dealership and some things like that.
What was your specialty with like doing graphic design stuff?
You're like, as a kid, I drew a lot
Mhm.
and really liked it. But actually, I took art lessons for basically from the time I was about 8, 9 years
Okay.
old, art lessons, and mostly did kind of abstract painting and stuff. And actually, I won a juried award, like a regional award, when I was 17, I think. And eventually, like, I was also, when I got into high school, they had some like architecture type classes. And so I really got into like structured art almost, between the two. And I didn't even know a thing like graphic design existed at that point. And then I kind of started exploring colleges and realized, oh, there's kind of this cross section of both that sounds really cool. And
Yeah.
so
When did you graduate college?
2003.
Okay. Yeah, I would have graduated college in 2010. And I feel like even by 2010, like people were just starting to be like, the accessibility of graphic design, I feel like changed drastically in the 2010s. I'm sure you know
Oh,
this
yeah.
more than I do. Um, yeah, like being like in high school in the late 90s, early 2000s, being like, I'm going to be a graphic designer. They're like, most people I feel like would be like, so you just work for marketing? Like, what does that mean?
Right.
And now I know I have other friends who also are like small business owners who do graphic designs because if you get one good client, then you get the referrals and you get all that word of mouth, then you can make a uh, business out of it.
Yes.
What's your favorite type of like graphic design challenge for you to do? Do you do like branding for people and all that good stuff?
Oh yeah, I do
Cool.
branding and like I really I did a lot of magazine layout for 3 or 4 years. I worked as a side project. I worked for a magazine, and I really liked. It's kind of like everything in one. And so you have to design the cover, which is a much more artistic endeavor, and then
Hmm.
you have to sort of place the stuff on the page and move it all around, and it's much more like mechanical and that sort of thing. And so it's kind of a cross section of both. I kind of always enjoyed that.
Yeah, it seems like it's like functional creativity almost.
Yes, yes. It's a great description of it. Yeah.
Which is hard for me sometimes because I feel like if I'm trying to be creative, I want there to be like an outcome that comes after or like a product afterwards. And I think with a lot of creativity, if that's the mindset, it can kill the creative
Yeah.
element. Cause if you go to be like, I need to draw this so I can sell this later, it takes some practice where you can actually do that.
Right. And I've always thought of it. Maybe it's part of the architecture thing I like, but I always think of it like a math problem.
Yeah.
Like there's a solution I can find to this problem. And that's
Yeah.
kind of how I think of it in my head as I'm doing it.
That's cool. I like math things and I'm a bit of a nerd, but I've never thought of like drawing something as like the solution to something like
Right.
that. That's cool. That makes sense why for Campfire Gentleman, all the graphics are so crisp. And whenever you launched it, it was all very, I remember seeing you like started following us on Instagram and I was like, oh, this dude looks like he has his stuff together,
Right.
all the graphics and stuff. We're over here trying to be like, we need to rebrand, but what friends we don't want to use AI. What do we do with this? And I look over here and you've got this like really sleek graphic that's thought out and everything. And I'm like, okay, that guy knows what he's doing a little bit.
Yeah. That.
Man, dude, figuring out a graphic and a name is so we were the Nashville dads for a good 3 years or so. Then I moved to Denver area. So kind of hard to keep a name for a city that one of you doesn't live in anymore. And I think it took us 9 months before we decided on a new name because it was like we were the only ones pushing for it. Like no one was like writing in the comments, you guys are phonies. How did you come up with the name Campfire Gentleman? Or please tell us a little bit about what you're trying to do with that.
Well, the name came from really this idea. Like it predated this whole, personal development thing. And it was just this idea. I don't really know. I remember sitting at I was sitting on the exit ramp of an interstate, and this is when it popped in my head. But I thought, when I think of podcast hosts or influencers or whatever, I like, even their name, I refer to them by whatever their podcast name is. And so I was like, what would be my name if I had a podcast? What would encompass everything about me. And so that's what came to mind. And so I immediately went home and made a logo for it because that's what I do, and had no sort of reason to use it for a couple of years.
Okay.
And but it was just sitting there. And when this all started to develop, I was like, I already have the name. I'm ready to go. I just, and so I have the fire theme to sort of go throughout it all, and like I said, I'm always in my mind with, marketing and branding. I'm like, what would be a good sort of focus to base it all around. And so the campfire, just sort of worked for it all and gave me a good angle to brand with and all that kind of stuff.
Nice. Tell us a little bit more about Campfire Gentleman. Like, what's your hope with it? Who are you hoping finds the account? All that stuff.
Well, I'm hoping really people like me.
Yeah.
Like I started I started an email newsletter essentially because I could not find any newsletters that spoke directly to me. And so, they were all very business focused, and if they weren't, they were they really were that masquerading as something else almost. And so it was all sort of high performance dad, the dad that makes six figures and, whatever else. And I was like, that's not really, there's a couple of things in here for me, but it's not really for me. I'm just a regular dude trying to live a regular life. I don't need to be rich or whatever. And eventually I just thought I just built the newsletter that I wish already existed. And I just thought, hey, there's got to be other people that aren't feeling this whole, 10x your income newsletter thing. And so that's what essentially made me start specifically an email newsletter as opposed to anything else. Is just, I couldn't find anything I wanted to read.
I do know there are a lot of them out there where it's like 6-figure income and a six pack. And I'm just like, I'm neither.
Right.
Like, and I'm not trying to be. And I'm not saying that like you shouldn't be. It's
Right.
just I view it more as like based on my own personality. Like, so for me, like Justin, who is co-host, he's the one who started the idea for this, because whenever he found out he was pregnant, he was like, hey, like whenever I talk to you, it's just like a fun, casual conversation about like life and being a dad and stuff. Like, I haven't really found that outlet anywhere else. Like, let's start a podcast because I don't think it exists. And then like, here we are, like almost 4 years later, still doing that because you look at it and you're like, all right, what content exists out there? All of this. How much of that do you relate to? About 10% of it. Cool. It's, it's a lot of work to fill that void, but also like, is there an opportunity here that you see that you can then help out with? And looks like for both of us, it's like, I would much rather have an hour-long conversation with someone than do like a 5-minute, like, here's how to be the best dad, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, that feels, I always use this metric of like, if I'm tuning out as I read my own stuff or as I listen to my own podcast, why would I expect anyone else to pay attention to it? What for the newsletter? Do you still do the newsletter?
Yeah.
Cool. What type of response do you normally get for it, or how's that going?
It's going well. Started in May 5th is when the first one.
Yeah.
And it's 2 a week. And originally I had this idea to make like this big, long, like 20-minute read newsletter.
Good luck.
Yeah. And I had like, of course I had the first like 2 done. But I have this, when people sign up for it, I had this whole pre-launch thing because I was like, I feel like if I don't do something, I'll be the only one that reads it because no one will be subscribed. And so I did like a whole month push before that. And so a few people signed up, and I had a survey at the beginning when you signed up, and every single survey said that they wanted like 4 to 5 minute newsletter reads. I was like, man, I could turn these 2, 20-minute reads into like 5 newsletters now.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And so I'm getting pretty good. I haven't got any negative responses yet.
Yeah.
That's the first check mark,
Yes.
But,
right. Yeah. No one hates it. That's good.
And every time I'm getting about an email every 2 days. And so I get like I have a whole, you sign up and there's a welcome series of emails, and that's really well responded to. And people really like the 5 pillars that it's kind of built around. And so, yeah, Every time I get an email, I'm like, oh, I can't believe I got an email.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's
It's a
great.
really
Yeah.
good, I mean, I still have that energy to me also of like, we release an episode and I see that anyone's listening to, I'm like, oh, that's good. That's nice. That ain't bad. I mean, one thing that usually comes up in this podcast a lot is as you get older, especially as a dad, maintaining male friendships and male community is extremely hard. And honestly, for a lot of us, wasn't modeled to us. I mean, like most of us, our dads had maybe they were elders on a church board. Some like that's the closest example to us seeing a male figure in community. What's your hope for the account, for the letter and all that? Are you hoping to build community? What are you hoping for?
I'm not quite sure about the whole, community thing.
Yeah,
I guess because at this point, I don't feel like I have any business trying to lead something like that, but maybe I'll get the
I get
confidence
that.
at some point to do that. But definitely, like one of the things is, like you said, I remember thinking about, I don't know when it was, but it wasn't that long ago, that essentially my dad used to have like used to go on vacation, and we'd go to these, like live in Texas, and we'd go to Houston, or we'd go to San Antonio, we'd go to Dallas for vacation. And at some point, I realized we're not going on vacation; we're going to a bowling tournament that my dad is in with his buddies.
That's cool.
And so, my dad had all these friends, all these bowling buddies, and I remember them coming by the house and hanging out, and I didn't realize that's what was happening and that they were bowling together, but they hung out together. And of course, at that age, I don't know how old I was, 10 or 12. So I mean, my dad was, 35, 36.
Mhm.
But they seem so old when you're that young.
Of
But you
course.
can't imagine that they're our ages now.
Hmm.
And but, you know, 20 years later, I haven't seen any of those guys in so long. I'm just he, basically has no friends that I can say. And it just occurred to me, like, if I don't make an effort to not do that, that will happen to me too. And so I made a concerted effort to, and I still do it every day, is I email or I text a friend.
Yeah.
And so I text a different friend every day. And a lot of times I get nothing back. And,
Hmm.
and sometimes it's, strikes up a long conversation or just some dumb memes or whatever,
Yeah.
And then I have one of those friends I meet for coffee once a month. And usually we actually go eat Indian food on a Friday once a month.
Nice. Yeah.
And sometimes we end up having coffee twice a month and hanging out and doing something else. But, we always have that sort of anchor of, at least twice a month we're going to get together and now we have coffee, we'll talk. We usually go about 10. And at some point, one of our wives is calling and being like, "You're going to come home today?"
You're still alive, right?
And it was, so, I mean, we'll be there till 1 or 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
We went to a place downtown one time, and they actually were like, "We're closing. Like, we're not open. And, we close at 2 today. Y'all got to leave."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just, I'm making a concerted effort to keep those friendships. And actually, one time, a friend of mine, he doesn't live here, he lives in Dallas, but he texted me and he said, "Hey, I appreciate you, you know, messaging me regularly.
Yeah.
It's cool." And I told him, I said, I just figure at some point, I just realized it's easier to keep the good friends you already have than to try to make new ones. I mean, you've already
Yeah.
done all of the legwork.
Yeah.
Why? You like these guys.
Yes.
So
I'm a big fan of like, or I know one thing I do is just, I don't know if it's like being blunt or whatever, but like if I do hang out with a friend, so afterwards, like, hey, just so you know, like, this is like, I really appreciate you take, like, just be, what's the best way to say this? If I have a hangout with a friend and it's a good time, I will usually just be blunt and be like, hey, this was a good hang. This was a good time. I really appreciate us spending time together. Genuinely, this is uplifting. So like anytime you want to hang out, I'm happy to do it and not leave it like I'm like defining the relationship
yeah,
in the moment,
right.
like, but I've learned to say things like that because I've noticed people are appreciative of whenever you are that. I don't, blunt seems like a negative connotation, but it should be like, hey, it was good to hang out with you. And like, I'm good. Like I would do this again another time. And my wife would also probably happily take care of kids, take care of stuff around the house if it means that she knows that I am just getting different perspectives in my life than like one of ours. Cause it's so, one thing that always worries me whenever I have limited community is what echo chamber am I living in? What perspectives am I not hearing because I'm only hearing my own, which I'm not, I don't like. Or it's like my wife, which we view the world similarly.
Right.
So for me to actually get a real definition of the world, I have to expand. I have to go out and talk to people. I have to go and be around people.
Definitely. And it's, I just, it's a very grown up thing to do, to essentially schedule time with your friends.
Yep.
And it just, you just have to accept that's what you have to do.
You do.
You're just not going to have these spontaneous. I remember when, and obviously when I was 25 or 26 years old, I would, a friend would give me a ride somewhere and we'd end up hanging out for like 5 hours. Like those don't happen when you're 40,
They don't. No, I remember that, like, getting out of college, I was pretty poor. All my friends were pretty poor. So it's be like, what are you going to do this afternoon? I was going to go to this guy's house. What are you going to do? Leave after dinner? I don't know. Like, what are you going to have for dinner? Oh, I'm not going to think that far. Whereas now it's like, if I have an hour unplanned in my day, I'm just kind of like, it feels uncomfortable. Like, I feel like I have like this weird, like, anxiety about it. Or if like, my wife, if I'm out of town or wife is out of town with the kids or anything like that, and I look up and I'm like, you have an hour to figure out what to do. I'm like, I'm going to waste this hour because I have no idea what to do.
I'm going to waste this hour scrolling through Netflix to find something to watch, and I'll just watch previews of shows that I'm not going to watch for an hour.
Exactly. Because we all have the mental list of like, oh, I should have watched this already. Why haven't I watched this yet? And then it's like, well, it's because it's 20 episodes and every episode is 15 minutes long, and you're not going to do that. Well, could you have watched one episode right now? Well, if I watch one episode, then I expect myself to watch the other 19, and I don't.
Yeah, I can't. Me and my wife have had so many conversations where we're like, what is a half-hour show that we can watch? Because we don't have time to commit to an hour.
No.
And then we watch like 4 episodes of a half-hour show.
Yeah, exactly. But it feels different. It feels like better progress. If I watch 4 episodes of, I don't know, The Office, Parks and Rec, something like that, then I'm like, oh, I got something accomplished. But if I watch 1.5 episodes of Last of Us, then I'm like, oh man, am I really committed to this show? Same amount of time. Do you guys watch movies anymore as a couple? Because watching a movie as a couple anymore is darn near impossible.
No, we do not watch movie. Trying to think of the last. Usually, if we watch a movie, it's came across on Netflix, and I left the remote alone long enough that the preview started.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, my wife would like this.
Yeah.
That's what we end up watching most of the time. Other than that, we just watched the How to Train Your Dragon movie at the movies.
Like the remake. Yeah.
And before that, we had watched the Sonic Hedgehog newest one. So it's all kids movies,
which I'm glad kids movies for the most part have more depth to them than ever. But yeah, we tried to watch we watched all of Succession and liked it a lot. And the guy who wrote that show did a movie called like Mountainhead. And I think we are. It's like a 2-hour movie. We're like an hour and 15 into it. And that's over the course of like 3 nights of like starting it. And like, there's also like, you always want to watch stuff that like, if your kid walks in because they need something, like you don't want a ridiculous scene on the TV. Right. So you're also trying to feel like, what's the balance of like, I want to watch an adult show, but not that adult of a show. So it's fun. Yeah. I think unless we pay for a sitter and then go to a movie, the chances of us starting a movie and ending it that night are not part of our rhythm.
No. We've recently watched, what is it called? Like 9 Pieces, maybe? It's like a Korean show. It was on Hulu. And my wife's really gotten into these Korean shows. And it was like a Korean, like murder mystery type. And it was all dubbed or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was really good. And she's like, you gonna start watching these Korean shows with me now? And I'm like, I don't know, but this one was good.
I like this one. This one worked. Yeah, I think that was it for like, because I remember making my wife watch The Last of Us, but I'd always have to like tell the kids, be like, hey, just so you know, we're watching a scary show with zombies. If you need something, you need to like, please knock first. Like, just knock. And like, that is just the like ways you prompt your kids for day-to-day life. I'm usually not predicting what I'm like, preparing my kid for that day, but those are the things you really prepare them for. Hey, we got to go grocery shopping today. Kind of necessary. Hey, later I'm going to watch a scary show. So like knock on the door if you're going to walk in. That's what I'm prepping my kids for on a daily basis. For your job, do you work from home or do you go into an office?
I work from home. I work from the desk I'm at right now.
Nice.
Which actually me and my dad actually built the desk. So
nice.
That was awesome. But yeah,
that's cool.
I have a storage. It was a when we moved here, it was this storage building that like the siding was falling off of and stuff. And I was like, I can actually the previous employer I worked for was a hybrid. It was a hybrid position. And so I would come home at 1 and work until 5. And so I was like, I was working in my office. I mean, in my kitchen, basically, or my dining room at the table. And I was like, I need an actual office if I'm going to come home every
Do
day and work
this,
4 hours from home.
Yeah.
And so me and my dad converted this storage building into a full blown office, and it was a cool project. I mean, we changed, we put metal on the roof and redid the siding and everything. And I got an air conditioner that, we were talking about to turn off
Nice,
when we
yeah.
started. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's what I do that's where I work from now.
I have no ability to do any of that. If like someone's with me doing it, I can somewhat figure it out. Is you or your dad like a carpenter, or how did you get that
Oh,
experience
yeah.
where you could trust that?
My dad, he grew up on a farm.
Mhm.
And so, they had and my grandfather, I mean, he was born like the tail end of the Depression. So they were doing it, he grew up doing everything. And so
Yeah.
my dad sort of grew up in the same vein. And eventually he went to college and got a degree in business and owned a bunch of like, he owned a bowling alley, and he owned a trophy shop and some other
Yeah.
things before eventually becoming a shop teacher.
Okay.
And so he did a bunch of, car repair type things and things like that. Then eventually in Texas, that sort of shifted from more of that kind of stuff to more into agriculture stuff.
Okay.
So he's just always been around things kind of like that. And so, yeah, he can just do a little bit of everything. And
That's cool.
he's got all the tools for one thing.
Yeah, that's helpful. Does he do electric? So he does electrical also.
He can't, he did the electric that's in this building, and he told me he wasn't. And then one day I come over from, after work or whatever. And I was like, I thought you were going to hire a guy to do this for us.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's like, nah, I'm going to do it.
I'll figure it out. As long as it's to code, just like maybe a little bit. That's cool. Those are all skills that like whenever I meet someone who is like a handyman or something like that, I just have deep respect for them because like to get that good, you have to be comfortable with a lot of like mistakes and stuff. And it's like physical mistakes. Like whenever you make something and it's not flush or it's not straight, it's in front of you never being straight again. And I'm like, I'd rather just hire someone who knows how to do this. Like we had someone do drywall in our house because we just need some patches and stuff. And like watching that guy do the mudding and like the texturing and all that. And I'm just like, I got nothing. My instincts are nowhere near this at all.
So we had our, basically, it was a whole big thing. We had our foundation and our floors redone in our entire house.
Okay.
And while that was basically, as that ended, I was like, we can take this opportunity to remodel some rooms. We've got a lot of the sheetrock's already fallen down because they moved everything around. Also, like we remodeled the bathroom, and like, yeah, me and my dad sheetrocked that and mudded that whole thing. And yeah, it was a chore.
Yeah, it is. And like, I think for drywall specifically, if you do it wrong, you spend the rest of your time in that room noticing how you did it wrong.
Well, and way before that, when we bought this house, we had an unfinished room.
Yeah.
That, me and my wife was like, we don't have time to do this. Let's just hire someone to do the drywall. And so we actually did the bottom half of the drywall and hired a company to finish it all out. And the difference between that guy who professionally did it and that bathroom that me and my dad did is night and day.
Yeah. I mean, it's just because you watch someone who does it every single day versus you who's like, I've watched some YouTube videos. I'm not an idiot. I bet I can figure this out. And there's just experience matters.
Yes.
Okay, so I feel like people, that's like, to me, that's like almost like a element of masculinity is being self-reliant and being able to do all that stuff. Do you feel like earlier you sounded almost like you don't feel like you fit into some of the typical like masculine definitions and everything. How does that, but also at the same time, if you can build a wall and stuff like that, dude, you've got some of the stereotypical masculine traits to you.
Well, one thing I figured out through like doing some of this stuff with my dad is like, it's not the end of the world. It didn't go, like, you could fix it.
Yeah, that's so hard for me to believe with drywall and stuff like that.
And it really was for me too. I mean, it really was. And so like this whole, like I said, the whole thing with the house was like a big deal. And so me and my dad did a lot of it all ourselves. And like I would mess stuff up and he'd be like, it's all right. He'd grab a hammer, just beat on it and be like, it's fine. See? I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess it is. Or,
Dude, yeah.
it's so,
That's really cool that your dad had that experience. I feel like home improvement stuff is a great reminder of how having like an elder or a guide is so necessary in day-to-day life because literally if I've never drywalled before, I've never made something flush. So who has? Can you teach me how to do this? Is like immediate admission of I have no idea what I'm doing here.
well, and like I said, my dad can do so many different things, particularly in that sort of area. And one day, he and my brother and me I don't know what we were doing, probably at my grandfather's, but my brother asked my dad. He said, "How did you learn to do all this stuff?" And I looked at him. I said, "Because he did it. Like, that's how he learned. He just did it."
Yep. It's always fun to like realize because to me like to overanalyze it is to be like, all right, this is kind of a risk assessment here. All right, cool. If I said like I was talking to one of my neighbors and I was like, he has like a TV hung outside. He's got like an outdoor TV. He's got like a box built around it. I was like, how'd you run electricity to this? And he was like, oh, drilled a hole here to drill it. And I'm like, oh, I'm genuinely worried to start drilling holes into like the ceiling. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
like
Right.
I want to know what's going on. And I was like, oh, dude, now there's one time I did a stud finder, did everything right. I started to drill the hole. All of a sudden, I hear this noise, and then I removed the drill, and water starts shooting me in the face because I had drilled into a pipe. It didn't find a stud; it found the water pipe in the wall. And I'm like, "That's actually really good to hear." Because if you walk into a room and someone's like, "Yeah, I built this, I remodeled this by myself," you're like, "Oh man, look at the end product." And I think, sadly, in the day and age we live in, we don't discuss enough what was the process to get there? What were the mistakes you made to get there? We just kind of go, well, here's how it ended. We're all good.
Right. And that's actually in my favorite newsletter I've written so far. It talks about like the idea that even failure, people sort of turn into this like badge of honor. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just this sleek version of failure on the internet, on, social media or whatever. That And so even your failure has to be this amazing comeback story
Yes.
that you turned it into, and instead of just a learning experience that everybody goes through and it's not some
Yep.
giant deal.
No, because it's I don't know. I mean, maybe it makes you feel like there's more value to your day-to-day life. But also, I think, I mean, whenever you've got kids, every day has value to it. Like, I don't need to find a bigger meaning, or I don't need to find, I don't need to assign more value to day-to-day life tasks. Whenever I'm going grocery shopping with the kids or something like that, I'm teaching them how to treat people. I'm teaching them how they are perceived by other people every single time. Like, so I'm not looking for like, was this failure the biggest failure of my life? I'm like, nah, man, if I mess it up, just create a plan to fix it and you'll be fine.
Right.
That's it. You're already doing the hard stuff in other areas. Like, don't overanalyze this one.
I think the same thing has kind of happened with the idea of like rock bottom, where
Yes, yeah.
everything has to be some rock bottom moment that and so you end up, you're like, is this a big enough moment that I have to
Yes.
turn something around now? Like,
Yeah.
now can I do it? Like you could have done it a long time
You
ago.
could have done a long time ago, man. That's my wife and I talk about that a lot where we'll talk about, people in life and whatnot. And we'll be like, okay, to me, would this will be like the somewhat humorous, but not so humorous conversation is like, would this be rock bottom for you if you encounter this situation? No, I think I'd dig deeper. Like it's like you don't have to make a mess to learn a lesson. You can just not do that. So, but I'm with you. That's one side tangent I find hard not to get on is when people are like, well, I reached my rock bottom and I did this. And I'm like, there are probably like warning signs along the way. And like, now you see them, but like, if you had a friend who looked at you and said, hey, I don't know if you should do this. And you said, you don't know me, you don't understand me, you did it anyway. Like, I'm not saying that friend was right. I'm just saying it's hard to stop your inertia sometimes, I guess is the most polite way I know how to put that. Wife and I will also talk about that for like church testimonies, or if like you're in a church, the people who go up and tell their story are normally a very big story, very emotional and everything, which I'm glad they can be redeemed. I'm glad grace works and exists. But sometimes I'm like, what about the everyday person? What about the person who like didn't didn't do that?
Exactly. And that's sort of, like you said, the impetus for the whole Campfire Gentleman thing is like it's not meant to be some like groundbreaking newsletter. It's just meant to be like little everyday simple things in life that you can go through. And so, I mean, yeah, it's not going to be for that dramatic, you know, rock bottom, testimonial at church type thing. It's really because those are hard, like you said, those are hard to relate to people that don't want to have that before they have to make a change.
Correct. If the only way I get if how about instead of have a redemption arc, I just I don't set myself on fire. Can I
Right.
just not? Can I do that? So, but it's humorous because like I grew up in churches as well, and like yeah, the stories you hear about, and that's also how our news system works and everything. The extremes, the outliers are normally what you hear about. It's not so much the everyday life. It's not the minutia day to day life stuff. So I clearly feel the same of like, how do I highlight the fact that like, because I think one thing that trips dads up a lot is they become a dad and then they're like, oh, I didn't know this is what day to day life would actually look like. And I'm like, oh, what, not what me, like, who were you talking to? What community did you have? I'm the first one in my community to to be a dad. There's no way you could have known how much of like the first 2 to 3 years of a kid's life is just literally keeping them alive.
Hmm?
And that's not always like there's a lot of beauty to it, but it's not always Instagram worthy, beautiful. It's literally just like my kid threw up on me today. I cleaned it up. Hope they didn't throw up on me again. Then they threw up on me again. And that was 3 days in a row. And that's life. That's life.
And that's like I told this friend I told you that had the twins.
Yes.
He had some, and he already has 2 kids, so he should know better. But
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
like, I'm gonna have he's got this sleep schedule worked out. I'm like,
Okay.
man, the sleep schedule never works. Like it never works.
Hope and a
Every
prayer.
guy ever has had some amazing sleep schedule,
Mm-hmm.
and he had all the reasons in the world why it was going to be better, and no one else has ever worked, but they never work. You're relying on kids to make it
Correct.
work for you.
Yep.
It never works. I was like, just get ready to change it, man.
Yeah, pretty much. Or like we've had friends like that where they'll be like, yeah, my kid wakes up and it keeps waking up at 5 and I'm only getting like 5 hours of sleep. And we're like, well, you're going to bed at midnight? Yeah. So it happens every single day? Yeah. Could you try going to bed at like 10 or 11? Oh, no, 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 I'm not going to do that. And I understand that. I understand
Right.
wanting my own time,
Yes.
wanting to zone out and all that. But like, after all, you do kind of look up and go, if I want more than 5 hours of sleep, I got to go to sleep earlier. And it's not, I think, trying to convince parents also like, hey, this isn't permanent. Like, this is temporary. Like, next week, your kid might sleep for 12 hours through the night. You don't even know. But it's very easy in the moment to be like, this is my reality. This is eternity now. And you're like, this week?
I remember that when we had our first kid, there was a vice president at this bank I worked at, and she's like, I only have one piece of advice for you and your wife. She said, take naps. Anytime you can take a nap, take a nap. And she was absolutely right.
Yeah. Yep. Just have one of you, depending on how little your kid is, one of you stay awake so you can be on watch duty, help out with the kid. And if the other one can go take a nap, go take a nap. And like, to me as a dad, if I see also I'm a stay-at-home dad, so situation feels a little different. But if I see my wife still asleep, I'm getting the kids out of that. Really, I'm like, how do we? You sleeping is much more important than anything else because it's such there's scarcity to it. There's not a guarantee. If you get to take a nap, there's not a guarantee how long it'll be if you ever get to take one again. So yeah, you gotta live into those naps when they show
Yes.
up.
It's still good advice, even when they're 10 and 12.
Yes. Well, I mean, like, even like for me, I feel like some days I get like the afternoon sleepies or whatever you want to call it. And it's like, if I fell asleep for 20 minutes, would I be better or worse? Because I feel like sometimes you take the nap and you wake up real disoriented.
Yes.
And then you go from like, you did it, the accidental nap is always my favorite. You put on a show for the kid and you look up and you're like, where are the credits on? And you're like, I fell asleep. To that one, here we are.
I know if it's late at night and we're watching something on TV, I know if I lay down on the couch, I'm going to
Yeah.
go to
Yep.
sleep.
You're done. Yep.
Every time I lay down and think I'm not going to go to sleep this time. And then my wife will be like, hey, go to bed.
Yeah, yeah, get in that bed. Get in that bed. I'm not lifting you up and carrying you to that bed. My wife will do like I want to sit up and keep watching the show, but my eyes are burning, so I should probably lay down for a little bit. And then I'm just like, yeah, I mean, that's fair. Like you worked a full day. You don't need to justify anything to me. You're good. That's cool. Do you do anything with your kids like individually to stay more connected to them? A lot of us talk about like prioritizing one-on-one time, doing dates with their daughter, stuff like that. Have you entered into that realm of fatherhood yet?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Me and my son, he's super into history videos. And so we will watch these like animated YouTube videos about history.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're super cool. I mean, I learn stuff all the time. Yeah. uh, And so I try to make it a point to watch. Basically, if I haven't done anything with him all day long, really, like today,
Yeah, yeah.
really, I'll be like, hey, let's watch one of those videos, man. And so, I mean, and I mean, sometimes they're 5 or 6 minutes, sometimes they're like 20 minutes long. But yeah, so I do that a lot with him, just real quick to connect if we haven't really seen each other a lot in a particular day. And on Mondays, my son has an appointment, and so my wife usually takes him, and so I take our daughter to Dunkin' Donuts,
Oh,
and
nice.
because she I don't know why, I'm sure she saw it on a YouTube video, but somebody that she likes to get a donut and dunk it in hot chocolate,
Okay.
and so that's what we do together pretty much every Monday for like an hour or two is just chill at Dunkin' Donuts and they just talk,
That's cool.
and she doesn't think that her mom knows, and so we pretend like she has no idea.
That you're giving her hot chocolate
Yeah,
and donuts every single Monday? Yeah. Your wife has no access to the bank statements,
right,
can't smell it on your clothes or
exactly.
anything. Yeah.
And she'd be like, and she has a real, I mean, good, but she has a problem lying, and so my wife would be like, "What did y'all do?" And she'd be like, "We went to the park. We went to the park." We're like, "Okay."
And then your wife walks up to you, then she's like, "You go to Dunkin' Donuts?" You're like, "Yeah, I went to Dunkin' Donuts. It's great." That's really cool. Okay, so if you're dipping a donut into hot chocolate, what's your donut selection? What donut are you dipping into it?
I always go with a chocolate covered donut, just real
Okay.
simple. Now she gets all, I mean, she always tries to pick the specialty donut.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And so, like right now, they didn't have any. Actually, we went there today, literally, even though, but
You're
not
sugar rushing
right,
off of it still.
not for that purpose, but not for
Yeah.
the chocolate hot chocolate. But she wanted the star donut with blue ice. I'm sure it's some America,
Oh, yeah,
Fourth of
sure, for
July
4th
thing,
of July
probably.
stuff. Yep, yep.
Like I said, they didn't have it, but that's all. She always wants whatever the specialty donut is, and so
Mhm.
it, it's really not that impressive. The Dunkin' in the hot chocolate, to be honest with you, but it's not what I'm there for. So
Yes, it's so fun to try to think of, like, what were the things because I remember being a kid and, like, if I got allowance money, Christmas money, if there's, like, a candy store at the mall, I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I need to go there right now." And I look at, like, all the candy I yearned for, basically, and now I'm just like, "Why did I want a Jawbreaker the size of my hand?" Like, why did I, as a 10-year-old, think this was worth, like, $7 back then? But back then, man, yeah, if I could get a Jawbreaker, some Sour Patch Kids, and,
wow.
like, all that stuff and some cavities along the way also, dude, that's what I was hoping for. No, it's funny. Yeah, I always try to do that if like, cause you see your kids get like hyper focused on something
Mhm.
and you're like, man, what was I always hope moments with your kids just making more inward and more just kind of like, what was I like at this age?
Yeah.
Whenever I was 10, if my dad would have said, let's go to a donut shop, get whatever you want, what would I have looked at here and said, oh my gosh, do I get to get this today?
It's funny, like you're talking about these individual moments. A lot of times I'll have, yeah, like a day where I feel like, man, I should have hung out with my son more or my daughter more. And so I asked my wife, I'm like, let's go, let's bring the kids in here and watch it. We always have like some half-hour cartoon that we're
Yeah.
watching, just in case there's nothing else we can do. We can do this real quick. And so that'll be the plan. I'll be like, oh, I'll go get the kids and we'll watch this show. And I'll go in there and they're playing with each other. And so I go like the wife and I'm like, do I break that up?
Now you don't mess with that.
Yeah, here's that's the answer. Yeah, just leave that alone.
Yep.
Yeah, they're having a great time together. I'm like, I'll just leave that alone.
Yep. It is funny, especially like so my kids are 9, 7, and 3. So we still try to maintain a bedtime for the most part, even though right now it's difficult because it's summer.
Right.
Like, yeah, if all three of them are playing and they're including the 3-year-old and it's like 7:30 or so, then we're kind of like, if we let this go on for too long, the 3-year-old does the meltdown before he goes to bed because he's 3. But also, they're good vibes. So and we can actually talk. So how do we once again, it's just risk assessment. It's like, okay, we lit it right until 7:45. At 7:45, we got to shut it down because 7:46 is when everything, it's like when you do play dates and you're just like, okay, if we'd have left 10 minutes earlier, would no one have cried? Is that, I can't control stuff this much, but I'd like to think so.
My daughter, she's gotten over this now, but used to like she would have like she would have this hard bedtime of whatever, like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and she'd be just having a blast. And and then she'd be like, she'd find out that it's like 9:45, and she would instantly be like, "Why aren't I in bed yet?" She would just get super upset, and we're like, "You were having such a good time.
You're good. It's summer. You'll sleep in. It's fine."
She would get all mad about it, and we're like, "It's all right. You're fine."
We're the one. I appreciate it. Yeah, the other day, my girls, because I share a room together, the 9 and 7-year-old are both girls, and we were like, we had gone out and looked at the stars or something, so they're going to bed at like 9:45, and like, can we listen to an audiobook, like, or something like that, like Nate the Great audiobook, and we're like, no, it's almost 10 o'clock, guys, and they're like, wait, we really want to listen to an audiobook, and we're like, okay, tomorrow we'll do bedtime at like 8 p.m. so we can listen to an audiobook. I'm like, okay, good, thank you. And I'm like, I thought what you think is like the added privilege to your kids and what they think is the added privilege, not always the same thing.
So we have a problem, particularly in the summer, of like, of course, dinners get later and later and later, and they just get more fragmented anyway. And so I'm like, the kids will eat like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they'll eat what we assume is dinner for them.
Yes.
And so then we'll be like, y'all go to bed. We'll be like, it's way past your bedtime. I know it's summer, but it's 11 o'clock. Go to bed.
Yeah. What are you guys still doing here? Yeah.
And inevitably, my son will be like, we never ate dinner. Really?
You did. It was 7 hours ago, man.
Right. Also, I'm like, you can't be that hungry either. Like, if it didn't stop, what you were doing to eat,
Yeah.
you can't be that hungry. I mean, so.
It's funny. You expect your kids to be able to listen to their body. And like, how much of having kids is just looking at them at any age and being like, you need to eat food. And like, no, I don't. I'm having fun. And you're like, please eat food before you start crying because I looked at you. Just eat some food. Eat a sandwich, please.
Neither one of our kids eat lunch at school. So they every day at school, like my son doesn't eat breakfast once. No, he does now, but once like school rolls around, he'll stop eating breakfast. He won't eat dinner. They get on at 4 o'clock and just eat everything in the house.
Yeah, dude, that as one who makes dinner and all that, that annoys me in such a surprising way. Of like, I'm literally like the chicken's in the oven, and they're like, I don't want to eat that, and I'm like, I limit it to like 2 snacks, and I'm like, you can't eat more than 2 snacks, and they follow that, And if they're like, I'm really hungry though, then I'm like, cool, why didn't you like? It's also so hard to watch your tone constantly as a parent, because to say, what'd you eat for lunch? Like, in that moment, I don't say that kindly. I'm like, what the hell did you eat for lunch? If you're hungry right now, what the hell did you eat for lunch? And it's like, nope, you're not going to get the answer you want with that tone, bro. Stop it.
And it's fun. He'll also be like, well, you never told me to come eat. Man, you're 12 years old.
You're 12, bro.
You're hungry.
Yeah, man. How do you not know? Well, that's why Taco Bell is all that marketing for like fourth meal and stuff, right? It's for this moment. So I don't know. I can't say as a parent you should be going and getting your 12-year-old at Taco Bell at 11 p.m. I don't know.
There have been plenty of times where they went to bed at 11 o'clock and then I went and got Taco Bell for myself.
That's a different responsibility. So that's also why you're not getting through TV shows. But I've also had the nights where the kids don't go to sleep until like 10. But like last night, the girls were in their room from like 8 until 10:30 just listening to an audiobook. And I walked in like multiple times like, hey guys, you really like go to sleep. Like you need to close your eyes and go to sleep. I'd be like, we're just going to finish this chapter. Then I'd like go talk to my wife and I'd be like, I can still hear that dang audiobook. I got to I'll be right back.
What's funny is like we get to the summer and usually, I mean, the summer, obviously the bedtime backs up in the summer. It's more like,
it's impossible
in the summers. And so, but so does our bedtime back up. So me and my wife are going to bed at midnight, or sometimes, we'll plan to go to bed. And my brother will text me and be like, hey, we play a lot of Fortnite together.
Okay. Yeah.
And
yeah.
my brother will be like, hey, you going to play some Fortnite? And so he and, my wife and I will all play game, a couple games.
That's
fun. It'll be 1 o'clock,
Yeah. Yep.
And so then we both sleep late. And by the time we wake up, the kids will have been up for 2 hours. I'll be like, man, like, I feel like if my kids wake up before me, I feel like a bad parent.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like I'm not saying I'm a master of healthy routines, but I'm aware that this can't be one. That's awesome. See, we're still at the age where phase where if it's like 7 or 8 and our kids aren't awake, then I'm like, is the 3-year-old still alive? Like, what's going on here? So like, yeah, the thought of them sleeping past us is more confusing to me than anything. So yeah. That's cool. Clay, how we end all of our episodes is we ask every guest a series of 5 questions.
Okay.
And the first question is, did you have any backup names for your 2 kids?
Yes. We we had Matthew Henry and Olivia Ruby.
Okay.
And so that is my middle name, my wife's grandfather, and my grandmother's name all kind of mixed in there. And actually, we told the kids that they could use them for their kids' names if we don't name cats those names first.
That's awesome. That's cool. Next question. Who's your favorite TV or movie dad?
I've always liked Tim Allen in Home Improvement. Like
Yep.
it just, like it kind of, there's always people complain now about the trope of kind of the dumb dad, and he kind of like walked the line before. It was kind of before that, where he was also a little more kind-hearted, I think, approach to it than there is now. And so, he was always, screwing up, but it was always kind of fun and lighthearted and that sort of thing. So I always liked that.
I think he was like absent-minded, but you can also find like multiple clips of him being very intentional and very observant of what was happening around.
Yes.
So, yes.
I always liked that.
All right. Yes. Next question. What's your go-to replacement curse word?
It's hilarious because I'm going to have to say it, and my son literally just walk in over here.
Yeah, I thought I just heard a door open. Yeah. What's your replacement curse word? Yeah.
Crapazoid.
Crapazoid?
Yes.
How did you come up with... Okay, first of all, crapazoid. New word. Didn't know that one existed.
Yeah, oh yeah.
How did you come up with crapazoid?
I obviously there's some sort of take on trapezoid, and
absolutely.
My son's super into math as well as history, so there's all that.
Yes.
It's I'm sure that's how it started, but yeah, and I say it quite a bit.
That's awesome. Next question: what's a favorite activity that you do with your son, or do with your kids? Like favorite toy or activity that you play with them?
We mostly play video games, and so I mean we play some Fortnite together. We play a lot of zombie games on Roblox.
Cool.
And so that's mostly what we do. But the other day, we were at a coffee shop, and we actually were playing Exploding Kittens.
Nice.
So that was interesting. They had a Oregon Trail card game, which I'd never seen before. And
that's awesome.
It was, I think it didn't hold their interest very long, but it was cool. It just reminded me of being a kid, and that old game. Evidently, he beat the game.
Yeah, he did not get dysentery, no ox left, nothing in the fjord, anything like that. And then last question, you kind of already hinted at this, but you might have another answer for it too.
No dad.
No dad.
No dad. The Oregon Trail. All right.
That's awesome. Thanks, we're almost done. Come on, man. What would you say? You might already have, you already kind of said this earlier, but you could have another answer also. What's like the best parenting advice you've received?
To take naps. I mean, that's definitely the one thing I have figured out the advice I would give someone else is that no matter how much like it seems like it, nobody has any idea what they're doing.
Yeah. It's pretty accurate.
Like that's me and the guy I talked about earlier that you have coffee with once a month. Well, almost every conversation we get into at some point, we're like, I imagine my dad knew exactly what he was doing when he was 40 years old. And now I'm like, he had to be scared to death.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Now you understand why that wasn't confidence. That was anxiety.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
It also makes me think, when I'm 70 years old, am I still going to feel like, does my dad still feel like he doesn't know what in the world is going on?
It's such a hard balance because you need to have some humility, like the balance of humility and confidence is exhausting because like you want to know what you're doing with your life, but also do you know what you're doing with your life? And how does that work out? So then the only other thing is just moment for self-promotion. So if we want to follow like your Instagram account, how do we get on the newsletter? All that good stuff.
All right, go to campfiregentleman.com. And that's where you sign up for the newsletter. That has the links to the social and all that. And it's all right there.
Sweet. Yeah, man. Other thing is just as someone who is constantly trying to highlight the everyday moments of being a parent, I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate the newsletter. And I do think there's more need of it because life isn't about these big dramatic, life isn't always filled with these big dramatic moments. It's the little quiet moments, and dads need to know that that's a great opportunity to be present and to show your family love.
Yes, definitely.
So yeah, man, I'll talk to you later. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chatting for a bit. Go play some Fortnite, go play some Roblox or something like that with your son.
I think some Fortnite's about to happen. Yes.
He just came in to be like, Dad, I've already got the load screen going. Where are you?
Exactly. My wife has probably sent him in here is what happened.
Hey, that's awesome. That's what she's like, I'm not walking down there, but someone needs to go get that guy. Awesome. Clay, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you next time.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, man.
Later.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the episode.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Imperfect Dads Podcast.
And make sure to subscribe and rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to us.
The music is provided by the Wildfeathers.
And all episodes are produced and edited by me.
Make sure to tune in Mondays for new episodes.